Derek Chauvin, day 11, we have now 14 jurors. And remember, a full panel is 12. We have 12 plus 2 alternates. And so we have a full panel ready to go. Opening arguments are scheduled for 1 week from today. So that is going to be March 29th. And that's going to kick off the trial. Tomorrow, the judge is going to give us some additional rulings on some sort of some issues that are still out there, and they're going to pick a 15th juror if they can, just in case something happens between now and Monday. So from Monday to Monday, we've got 7 days. Maybe the city council does something also stupid again, like they did with that settlement conference news released right in the middle of voir dire. Maybe something else will happen, and so one of the jurors will be somebody who is no longer going to be fair and impartial. And so if the judge had 15, let's say that happens to one person, they boot the one person off. Now we have a full panel of 14, which gives us the 12 plus the 2 alternates. And so the judge is being super cautious. So today we got juror number 14. We're going to break that down. We're going to show you a little bit about her. Not a really interesting day today in the Chauvin trial, if I can be candid. Pretty basic stuff. Judge issued a blanket ruling denying a change of venue. We already knew that was coming, but apparently over the weekend, the defense team filed a whole slew of motions. It sounds like affidavits and memorandums and motions and a bunch of offers of proof and a bunch of stuff to support their justification for changing it from Minneapolis to a different city in Minnesota. And so the judge came out today and just sort of put a blanket no on that, not going to do that. And he's going to issue more orders throughout the week. So we're going to see some of this stuff in writing. The judge gave us very, very basic verbal, oral argument or oral orders today, but it's going to be fleshed out, I think, throughout the rest of the week. But today largely was jury selection, and several people obviously did not make the jury. We had one new woman, a white woman, who makes up juror number 14. And so let's take a quick look at the board. This is our Derek Chauvin trial board, and you can see here the main parties didn't change a whole lot. There are still some other attorneys here on the prosecution side that we haven't just filled out yet. We'll see if they start to pop up as the trial unfolds. But right now, they're really just kind of on the side, in the wings. And the rest of these people are really doing voir dire. So right now, we're still just wrapping up voir dire, and we're talking about jury selection. We have one additional jury that the judge is going to pick, hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday. And then we'll have our full panel. But as you can see, we have the genders and the sort of racial demographics as best as we can figure those out. Those are listed here in the jury panel. And then we've got, of course, the main parties. Eric Nelson, heard a lot from him, the only defense attorney that we've seen on the Chauvin side. And then today we saw a lot of Steve Schleicher and I think a little bit of Matthew Frank. He was sort of the poking around back there, but mostly Steve has been doing jury selection. So as I mentioned, the day started off sort of bland, kind of very, uneventful. But this is Judge Cahill giving us a brief sort of overview early this morning about that change of venue. And remember, change of venue is something that a lot of people have been kind of up in arms about, saying that there is no way, shape, or form that Derek Chauvin gets a fair trial in Minneapolis just because of everything that's been going on. Obviously, this is national news. George Floyd died right there. They're having a trial right there. All of the protests, all of the unrest, all of the memorials and the peaceful gatherings took place right there. And now we're asking jurors and everybody to come in there and sort of live under this burgeoning weight of the pressure surrounding this trial, however you want to define that. So, but many people were saying, well, we got to move it out. We got to just get it out of here. We got to take it to a different city, send it across the state where it's a smaller town or something to that effect, hopefully to mitigate some of that volume, to turn down the intensity a little bit. And judge is basically saying, no, it's not going to happen. And we didn't think that was going to happen anyways, just because they have gone through a lot to beef up the security around this court building. They've got barbed wire and concrete barricades and chain link fencings. And a lot of people, I think I heard from a headline somewhere that there were like 11 different law enforcement departments and agencies that were going to be, taking additional time to come in and beef up security. And that is starting 1 week from today. So March 29th. Today, the judge this morning said, well, here's our final ruling on the venue stuff, but you're going to notice he didn't really get into the details. Not a lot of specifics here, but he does promise that later in the week, we're going to get some official rulings, and we're waiting on those because there's some important issues here that I think are going to be fleshed out. He just wasn't able to get to it over the weekend, so those will be forthcoming. Here is Judge Cahill talking about the change of venue motion.
Hey everybody, we are on the record. The jurors are just finishing up their video, so we'll be bringing them in shortly for the group instruction followed by individual instruction. But I did want to make a record that After Friday, I know the defense filed extensive briefs, affidavits, attachments regarding change of venue, and I had a chance to review those this weekend. And it does not change my decision, and so the motion for change of venue is still denied. And we will hopefully get you out written orders regarding the Spriegel, the reverse Spriegel, and the motions in limine this week by tomorrow or Wednesday. So with that, as soon as the jurors are ready, we'll bring them in. Anything else for the record before we do that? All right.
All right, so that's it. One of the most boring clips that we've ever played on this show, but it just kind of shows you what's going on here, right? It sounds like the defense submitted a bunch of stuff over the weekend. And this happens a lot to defense lawyers. You work hard on something, you draft all of these documents, you just pour your heart and soul into this document. Judge, this is the best legal argument I've ever seen. This is why this is so critical. Here is this phone book of information. Please just look at it with your heart and just give us a fair consideration. Judge comes back in Monday morning, says, hey, yeah, I saw that stuff over the weekend. It's still denied. Thanks for playing, though. I'll get you an order later. Let's get back to jury selection. It happens all the time for defense attorneys and prosecutors and all lawyers, to be fair. But Eric Nelson, you saw him there on the defense table just kind of going, all right, well, yeah, I guess we'll just get right back to it. All right, so they call in the first juror, and they went through a number of different jurors today. Not going to go through all of them. Let's talk about the people who did not make it. So this woman here, Nelson used one of his discretionary strikes to excuse the morning's first potential juror. She was a nursing assistant who is white, was firm in her pledge to judge the case only on evidence presented, saying, I can look at it from both sides, look at the facts, and go from there. She revealed that she marched in a protest about a week after Floyd's death. So there you go, marched in a protest a week after Floyd's death and carried a sign. Also said she saw the widely watched bystander video of Floyd's arrest, gave this impression in the juror questionnaire she filled out months back, said, quote, it was not his time to die, and the incident should not have gone as far as it did. So, of course, Nelson used one of his peremptory strikes and booted her off of the potential jury. Obviously a good move. So that is, we've seen this kind of come out many times throughout voir dire, throughout this jury selection process, where people literally say that they grabbed a sign and went down and marched on behalf of George Floyd. Obviously, those people are biased. Obviously, that's a pretty in-depth confirmation that you believe a certain way, so much so that you just didn't post on Facebook about it. You didn't tell your friends about it over dinner. You actually got a sign and went down and marched. And so to undo that, I think is probably an order that is just too difficult to fulfill. And so Eric Nelson made the right move and booted her out of the jury. The prosecution also used one of their peremptory strikes. And here we have, it says the prosecution followed and used one of its strikes to dismiss the day's second jury candidate, a father whose passion for competitive fishing made for congenial small talk with the attorneys. The man, who is white, said he has seen very little news coverage about Floyd's death or the civil unrest that followed. So that's pretty amazing. And he couldn't recall ever seeing the viral video. Wow, he might be the only person in America who didn't see it, and he's not on the jury. That's interesting. With that, he said he could be a fair-minded juror. Everything is based on how it's presented within the trial, he said. The man, who services and repairs pumps for a good-sized company in the Twin Cities, characterized the view of Chauvin as neutral on his questionnaire. Not so much for Black Lives Matter movement, writing, I do not think the riots helped. Asked whether he still associates the riots with the movement, he said, I would have to say I possibly do. Yeah, and I don't actually blame him for that. I mean, I think that it's hard to sort of disassociate the two because we still don't really know what the movements are all about or what the intents are behind it, unfortunately. So those two people were gone. The only man in America who didn't see the video, not on the jury. All right, well, that's okay. So next up, we got a couple other people who got booted off. My emoji, she is not escaping this box, by the way. She's supposed to be in this box. She did not make it on the jury. Looks like she's really intending to do that, but she's not going to be on it. The day's third prospective juror told the court that, quote, my English is not perfect. I might not understand all the words. Cahill quizzed her a bit further in the area and then soon excused her. The afternoon began with a man dismissed by the judge after he said that he would not be able to put out of his mind the settlement. There it is again, the settlement agreement that the family reached with the city because, quote, it swayed my opinion that they got that much money. Yeah, $27 million. Of course it's going to sway your opinion. The next jury candidate also made a quick exit under questioning by Cahill. The man said he was leaning towards Chauvin being guilty. He explained himself with an analogy of brothers who sometimes get into a scrap. You're tussling with your brother, the man began, and he gives up. You stop. If you don't and something happens and you're standing in front of your parents, there is a line where you have to stop. Before excusing the juror, Cahill said, as a little brother to 3 older brothers, I know exactly what you are talking about. And so those 3 individuals not on the jury either. Cahill was a younger brother. I'm an older brother, the oldest of 3. And we all kind of know that line that he's talking about. But of course, you cannot bring that into a jury trial. You have to view it on the facts, on the merits that are in front of you. And so those 3 individuals apparently could not do that, and so they got booted out. Now, here is juror number 14. So she did make it on. So let's learn a little bit about her. Then we have a line of questioning from the prosecutor where we learn a little bit more about sort of how her views changed on one particular topic. So this is juror number 14. Once again, this is all being reported by the Star Tribune. They do a nice job. Number 14 is a white woman in her 20s. She is a newlywed and a social worker in Wright County whose clients are coping with mental health difficulties. Interesting. We talk a lot about mental health and about, the police responding to mental health crises. And so she's got some experience in this area, closely related. She was unwavering in her confidence that she could judge only the evidence presented in the trial, and added that her profession has provided her with the ability to be empathetic and keep an open mind about people. Quote, I'm always thinking about the person and where he came from, she said of viewpoint about Chauvin. Was it his training? As for Floyd, she said, quote, I'm always looking at why someone has done something a certain way. I had all kinds of thoughts of him, his past with drugs and things like that. I had every emotion. When the woman said hearing both sides would definitely help her to be fair and impartial to Chauvin, the defense attorney reminded her that his client does not need to present his side during the trial. The woman explained, Mr. Chauvin's side is his presumption of innocence. That is what I meant by that, which is a very interesting statement. I've explained this before on the show, I think probably many times more than many people would want to, I don't know. I've talked about this a lot, but many jurors get confused on this issue about the presumption of innocence. And I've explained that many times you'll go into a jury trial and you'll be asking the jurors questions. And one of the first things that the judge will ask is, how many people here already think the defendant is guilty? Right, before the trial starts. And you'll get a couple people on the jury who raise their hand and go, yeah, I do, honestly. He wouldn't be here if he didn't do something wrong. It may not be the charges that are being brought against him, but he wouldn't be in handcuffs. I mean, the police don't just arrest innocent people. I know that, obviously. And so the person who's sitting here in this courtroom must be guilty because they're here. And you're going to get people on the jury panel who raise their hand over that. Then the judge will say, well, how many? Okay, that's fair. All right. And explain to them. We all know that those people are getting thrown off the panel. Then they go to the next question. Well, how many people think they don't know? They don't know. It's too soon to tell. It's too early. We haven't even started opening arguments yet. How many people say they don't know? And about the rest of the panel typically raises their hand. They go, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm here. I'm trying to be fair and impartial. And so we're going to get to the bottom of this, but I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty. I just can't tell yet. It's too early. That's the wrong answer. He's innocent at that moment in time. And so the judges will come back and say, okay, well, you're all wrong. Actually, he's innocent. So who else thinks that he's innocent? You maybe will get 1 or 2 of those people who raise their hands. Sometimes the judge doesn't even ask that because most of the panel has raised their hand at that point in time. So it's that concept. In court right now, every single juror should have a fair understanding that Derek Chauvin is presumed innocent. It's the presumption of innocent. It is a pillar of our justice system. It is so critical, so important. Sounds like this woman is familiar with that concept and she's going to be adhering to that burden moving forward. So that's good news. So that is juror number 14. Here's a little bit of her today in court. Here's a prosecutor, Steve Schleicher, asking her some questions about her questionnaire and some follow-ups.
Just a few follow-up, Your Honor. You'd indicated that in your experience, when you've had to call law enforcement in and they've removed somebody who was unruly, in all instances, the person complied with the police.
Yes.
Can you tell me what your thoughts would be on someone who does not comply with the police when they, come in and on your request are trying to remove a person who's being unruly?
I think it depends on the situation. Since I've not experienced it, I'm not quite sure how I would react to that, but I I would hope that I would be able to work with law enforcement like they would be able to work with me to be able to get that person to just be in a better state and feel better about anything. But I've not had that experience, so I'm not sure.
And some people may hold the view that if you're not complying with the police when they ask you or tell you to do something and you get injured, you kind of get what's coming to you. Tell me what your thoughts are.
I think I used to think that, but I don't necessarily believe that anymore. Again, because we should all have that respect. You should respect the officer telling you something as much as the flip side. So I think that's my view on that.
Can you tell me why you may have re-examined that view?
I'm not quite sure what that. I think maybe just hearing both sides again. I don't really know if there's something specific I can point out to why that changed.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So did you notice that? I'm not going to play it again, but if you notice this, he says, well, what prompted that change? So apparently there's something going on where the woman said, well, if there was an original thought that maybe if you're disobeying the police, you get what's coming to you, that changed a little bit. And he goes, well, what caused that to change? It sounds like now maybe you're a little bit less pro-police, maybe that you actually don't get what's coming to you when the police are involved. And he says, what caused that to change? And she goes, well, I don't know. It's just sort of a natural evolution. And he just goes, you see that face? He goes, like, okay, there it is. Right. What could it be? What could possibly change it? Is it the fact that she's now in court being questioned to be on a jury? I don't know. But you can obviously understand why people's positions might moderate a little bit if they do want to be on a jury. And so this prosecutor noticed that, right? He's kind of inquiring to her what caused that change, tried to get something out of her to say, well, it's something or other, right? So that he could latch onto it. She goes, I don't know. And he goes, okay. All right. So she didn't give him anything to strike her for cause. So he comes back in this next clip and says, yeah, all right, we're going to pass her for cause. And then this is sort of the final. I wanted to show you what happens once a jury member gets approved. And so this judge gives her the final instructions. And since she should really be our last true juror, we're going to have juror number 15, but that juror is not going to be a part of the final panel. They're just going to be sort of a stopgap safeguard in case something goes wrong between now and Monday. So here is Steve again, coming back, telling the judge, all right, couldn't strike her. So this is approved. And then the judge is giving her, not super eventful, but the judge is giving her the final instructions just so we can sort of put a bookend on this jury selection stuff. Here it is, the last clip of the day.
The state passes for cause.
Juror 118, you will serve on our jury. And so we're going to have you come back on Monday at 9 a.m. to start the trial. But watch for any communications from the jury office as far as logistics. And if there's been any change in timing on this. So, any questions for me? Otherwise, the deputy will take you out. You had a letter to get in here. Make sure you keep that.
Okay.
Keep it safe and bring it with next time.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it. Now we got a full panel. You heard the Judge Cahill. It's kind of echoey today in the court microphones, but it basically said, yep, you're on the jury. So take the letter, go out, talk to the deputy, talk to the bailiff, get the instructions. We'll see you back here on Monday. And that's it. This is what the panel looks like. You can see here we've got a full panel, and let's take a look at some of the demographics. Of course, here we've got 8 white folks and 6 people of color. We can go through and just do a quick count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people of color, which means the rest of these are white folks over here. Then we've got 5 males and 9 females. So it is a very female heavy panel. We've got 1, 2, 3. Nope, that was not that. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 9 women, 5 males. This is our full panel, and this is what the demographics look like. So you can take a quick look. The latest, number 13 and number 14, we've got 2 white females, 1 in her 40s, 1 in her 20s. One works in customer service. One is a social worker. One's a dog lover. The other one is a newlywed and works with mental health. And so that should be the full panel. Now, as I said, we're going to get one more added tomorrow for 15. That's our safeguard. And then I'm not real sure what the rest of the agenda looks like this week. If we can get that next person settled tomorrow, the number 15 assigned into the panel temporarily, then we'll probably get some other rulings on some orders and some motions. Tuesday, Wednesday might be very light, may not even have anything to talk about on Thursday or Friday as they're preparing for oral argument, opening arguments, which should start on Monday, March 29th. So we've got a lot more to talk about on Chauvin's area. So if you have anything that you want to chime in about, feel free to send those questions over at locals.com. Find our Watching the Watchers group.